The sky burned in hues of crimson and gold as Ryan Carter pulled into his driveway. The rhythmic hum of the car engine faded as he turned the key, leaving only the whisper of the wind rustling through the trees. He exhaled heavily, rubbing his temples before stepping out. It had been another grueling day at the firm, but at least he was home now with Sophia. His wife greeted him at the door, her auburn hair twisted into a loose bun, a few rebellious strands framing her delicate face. She smiled, her hazel eyes crinkling at the corners. "You're home earlier than usual." "Yeah, managed to finish up a bit sooner," he said, pressing a kiss to her cheek. "Smells good. What's for dinner?" She grinned. "Your favorite. Chicken parmesan." Ryan let out a satisfied sigh. No matter how stressful work was, Sophia always found a way to make their home a sanctuary. They had been married for nearly 10 years, and though the initial spark had mellowed, their life together was steady and comfortable. They settled into their usual routine, sharing stories over dinner. Sophia spoke excitedly about her latest interior design project, a boutique hotel that wanted a rustic elegance theme. Ryan listened, nodding at the right moments, but his mind felt heavy, weighed down by the monotony of life. He loved Sophia, but sometimes he felt as though something was missing. The shrill chime of his phone shattered his thoughts. He frowned at the unknown number before answering. "Uncle Ryan?" A hesitant voice spoke. Ryan sat straighter. "Ethan?" His nephew's voice was unmistakable. It had been years since they'd last spoken, ever since Ethan's mother, Ryan's estranged sister, moved across the country. "Yeah," Ethan continued. "I know this is last minute, but I'm in town for a few days. Any chance I could crash at your place?" Ryan glanced at Sophia, who raised a curious brow. He covered the phone. "It's Ethan. He's in town." Sophia smiled warmly. "Of course. Tell him he's welcome any time." Ryan returned to the call. "You can stay as long as you need." An hour later, Ethan arrived. The lanky 19-year-old had grown since Ryan last saw him, his once boyish face now sharp and defined. But his eyes, a striking shade of green, still held that same youthful energy. "Wow," Ethan said, taking in the house. "You guys really made a nice life here." Ryan clapped him on the back. "We try." They settled in the living room, catching up as Sophia brought out coffee and dessert. Ethan spoke of his recent road trip, the places he'd seen, the people he'd met. His stories were filled with adventure, spontaneity, everything Ryan's life lacked. Then Ethan hesitated. "I actually ran into someone who said they knew you." Ryan arched a brow. "Oh, Isabel Harper." The air in the room shifted. Ryan's grip tightened around his coffee mug. Sophia glanced at him. "Who's Isabel?" Ryan forced a chuckle, but it sounded hollow. "An old friend from college." Ethan nodded. "She seemed nostalgic. Asked about you." Ryan's mind reeled. Memories of a younger version of himself entangled with Isabel's laughter, stolen glances, whispered secrets. They had been more than friends, so much more. But that was a lifetime ago, before Sophia, before responsibility. Sophia, perceptive as ever, studied Ryan with quiet curiosity. Small world, she mused, but there was a hint of something else in her voice. The conversation soon drifted to safer topics, but Ryan couldn't shake the unease creeping up his spine. That night, as Sophia slept soundly beside him, he lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The past had a way of finding you, even when you thought you had buried it. Morning light filtered through the bedroom curtains, casting long, golden streaks across the walls. Ryan lay on his back, staring at the ceiling, his mind heavy with memories that had clawed their way to the surface overnight. Isabel Harper, a name he hadn't spoken in years, yet the mere mention had unraveled something inside him. Beside him, Sophia stirred, her body instinctively curling closer in sleep. He studied her peaceful face, guilt gnawing at the edges of his thoughts. He had no reason to feel this way. Isabel was just part of his past. That's all she should be. By the time Ryan made it downstairs, Sophia and Ethan were already seated at the breakfast table, coffee steaming in their mugs. "You were out cold this morning," Sophia teased, handing him a plate of eggs and toast. "Yeah," Ryan muttered, taking a seat. "Didn't sleep great." Ethan gave him a knowing look over the rim of his coffee cup. "Thinking about Isabel?" he asked casually. Ryan stiffened. "Not particularly." Ethan smirked but said nothing, breaking off a piece of toast instead. Sophia's curiosity was evident, though she played it cool. "You never mentioned her before. What's the story there?" Ryan hesitated, weighing his words. The truth was messy, and some things were better left unsaid. "We were close in college," he admitted. "Dated for a while, but it didn't work out. We lost touch after graduation." Sophia nodded, her expression unreadable. "And now she's back?" Ryan let out a breath. Apparently, Ethan leaned back in his chair. "She asked me to give you something." Ryan looked up sharply as Ethan reached into his backpack, pulling out a neatly folded envelope. He set it on the table between them, the paper crisp and unblemished, as if the words inside had been carefully preserved. Ryan stared at it, his pulse quickening. He wasn't sure why, but the sight of it unsettled him. "You don't have to read it," Ethan said, sensing his hesitation. Ryan picked up the envelope, running a thumb over his name scrawled in familiar handwriting. He swallowed hard, feeling Sophia's gaze on him. "I'll read it later," he said, slipping it into his pocket. Sophia didn't press, but Ryan knew her well enough to recognize the quiet curiosity in her eyes. She wouldn't push for details, not yet. The rest of breakfast continued as if nothing had changed, but Ryan felt the weight of the letter against his leg all morning. That afternoon, Ryan found himself alone in his study. The letter unfolded before him. The words on the page blurred momentarily before coming into focus. "Ryan, I don't know if you'll ever read this, but I needed to write it anyway. Seeing Ethan made me realize how much time has passed. We were so young back then, weren't we? I thought what we had was forever, but life had other plans. I don't regret where my path has taken me, but there are things I wish I had said before we drifted apart. There was never closure between us, not really. Maybe it doesn't matter anymore. Maybe it shouldn't. But if you feel the same pull that I do, I'd love to see you. Just once. No expectations. No obligations. Just two old friends catching up. Isabel." Ryan exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. This was dangerous. A meeting with Isabel wouldn't be just two old friends catching up. It never could be. Their history was too complicated. Their past too tangled in unspoken words and unfinished moments. Yet deep down, he knew he wanted to see her. He folded the letter carefully, placing it inside his desk drawer. Just then, a soft knock at the door. Sophia peeked in, her smile easy, but her eyes searching. "Hey," she said, stepping inside. "Ethan went out for a bit, thought we could take a walk." Ryan nodded, standing. As he reached for his jacket, he glanced once more at the drawer, at the letter inside. Some doors were meant to stay closed. But was this one of them? Ryan stood at the cafe entrance, fingers tightening around his coat lapel as he took a steadying breath. The letter had sat in his desk for 3 days before he gave in. He told himself he was only here for closure. But deep down, he wasn't sure if that was the truth. Inside, the cafe hummed with soft chatter and the scent of roasted coffee beans. His gaze swept the room until he spotted her. Isabel Harper. She sat near the window, sunlight catching in the auburn strands of her hair. The years had refined her. There was an elegance to her now, a quiet confidence in the way she held herself. But the eyes, deep and knowing, were exactly as he remembered. She looked up, her lips curving into a slow, nostalgic smile. Ryan. He crossed the room, his movements careful, measured. Isabel. They embraced briefly, light, hesitant, before settling into their seats. A moment of silence stretched between them, both searching for the right words. I wasn't sure you'd come, she admitted, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly. Ryan exhaled, fingers lacing together on the table. Neither was I. A soft chuckle escaped her, honest as ever. He shrugged. Figured we're past pretending, don't you? Isabel tilted her head, studying him. Maybe. Or maybe we never really got past anything at all. Ryan glanced away, focusing on the steam rising from his untouched coffee. She wasn't wrong. Why now, Isabel? He asked finally. Her expression softened. I don't know. Seeing Ethan. Hearing about your life. It made me wonder if there was still something unfinished between us. Ryan leaned back, letting her words settle. There had been a time when he thought Isabel was his forever. Their love had been wild, passionate, uncontained. But it had also been reckless, full of uncertainties neither of them were ready to face. You disappeared after college, he reminded her. No goodbye, no closure. Just gone. Isabel sighed, looking down. I was young. Scared. We both were. Ryan studied her, memories surfacing like echoes in his mind. The long nights spent talking about dreams they never chased. The stolen moments neither of them could forget. The way they unraveled when the world demanded more than just love. I thought I moved on, he admitted. Isabel gave him a small, knowing smile. But then you got my letter. He ran a hand through his hair. Yeah. She leaned forward, her voice softer now. Do you love her? Ryan's breath hitched. The question was inevitable, yet hearing it spoken aloud made it real. Sophia is my wife, he answered, but it wasn't the response she had asked for. Isabel's gaze didn't waver. That's not what I asked. Ryan clenched his jaw. It's complicated. A sad smile tugged at her lips. Love shouldn't be. He shook his head. No, Isabel. Love is always complicated. It's compromise. It's sacrifice. It's waking up every day and choosing someone, even when it's not easy. She looked away, her fingers tightening around her cup. And do you choose her? Ryan hesitated. Sophia had been his anchor, his stability. She had loved him through every storm, even when he couldn't always do the same in return. But Isabel? Isabel had been the fire, the one who made him feel alive in a way he hadn't since. But was nostalgia enough to burn down everything he had built? Ryan exhaled, shaking his head. I came here looking for closure, Isabel. Maybe you did, too. Her eyes glistened, but she nodded. Maybe. They sat in silence, the weight of unspoken things settling between them. Finally, Isabel smiled, a bittersweet kind of acceptance in her expression. I'm glad we had this, she said. Ryan reached across the table, squeezing her hand briefly before pulling away. Take care of yourself, Isabel. She nodded, and as he walked out the door, he knew he was finally ready to let the past go.